Cosplay. Some of you may have heard of it, but overall it's quite a niche and unknown culture, considered weird by many, and misunderstood by even more, and thought childish even by the family of people who do it. But what is it really? We're going to get away from the comedic reputation it has been given in media.
What is cosplay?
I'm sure if you're a cosplayer, you've been asked this question at least once. Cosplay, which is the combination of costume and play, describes people that dress up as their favorite characters from anime, video games, comics, manga, television, film, books, tabletop and card games, and pretty much any kind of entertainment or pop culture there is out there.
Also, some people will take this a step further and actually act like the character they're dressed up as.
Cosplay is not just being a fan of a character or a show or a comic book, but becoming it, being a part of it, stepping into it, taking it out into the world at the same time.
Cosplayers often will either get costumes or make costumes and wear them at conventions, either pop culture conventions or anime conventions or just anywhere where there's a bunch of geeks hanging out. Cosplayers also kind of show up sometimes at places like a book release or opening night at certain films. The first and foremost reason that most cosplayers do this is because it's an expression of our fandom, and it's a way to show how geeky we are and how much we love a certain show or film or whatever, or just specific character. Cosplay is not the same as LARPing or live action role playing, though that isn't to say that cosplayers can't live action role play or vice versa. Cosplay is also not the same as things like being a member of SCA or medieval reenactments or anything like that. Cosplayers are not booth babes. Booth babes are the girls and sometimes guys that you'll see at conventions like San Diego Comic-Con, and I know that there are cosplayers that do also work as booth babes, but usually there's not much of a crossover. There's a lot of discussion in the cosplay community about whether someone who doesn't make their own costumes can still be called a cosplayer.
I also think it's important to look at the definition of costuming. Costuming and cosplay are actually two different things. In order to cosplay, you don't have to make your own costume. Costuming is the act of creating a costume, whereas cosplay is just dressing up as one of your favorite characters.
Even if you can't make your own costumes, that doesn't mean that you can't cosplay or be a cosplayer, because really, cosplay has always been, for me, about having fun.
Cosplay is about having fun. Don't get me wrong, there will be a little bit of stress, especially if you're making your own costume. But at the end of the day, cosplay should always be fun. By no means is this meant to dissuade you. If anything, I'm just letting you know that these things do happen so that if it does happen to you, you know you're not alone. It happens to every single cosplayer out there. As I just mentioned, the attention you get from cosplaying can bring you new friends with similar interests as well as praise. But at the same time, this also opens up the door to ridicule and negativity and sometimes even harassment. But don't, and I mean don't, let this get in the way of you doing what you want. There's always going to be negative people in the world, there's always going to be haters out there, and there will always be trolls. As long as you do what you want, you're happy with yourself, and you have a little bit of confidence in your step, you can't go wrong.
I think that cosplay is a brilliant thing. It's just sadly misunderstood by so many. But I hope this documentary has shown some positive light on this creative and individualistic hobby, which is cosplay.